This is not the kind of project that's going to yield important information at the micro level, because we may know the space around which people live, but the dates are fuzzy. And socioeconomic status may or may not be fuzzy, but it's the dates that are a problem. But still, one can ask the question, were there very long-term trends and sweeps in history that the micro-studies do not capture? And I think the answer is yes. What we found in the skeletal record is a huge 1,200-year U-shape in heights from the early Middle Ages at the beginning of the medieval warm period to the 20th century. And it seems the bottom of heights, and we're talking about a difference in stature here of about 4 inches. It's huge. It bottomed out in the 17th century. The 1600s represented the height of the Little Ice Age, when the Thames froze over, for example. People ice skated on it during the winter. And I think the climate did 2 things. First, it affected agricultural production, especially at the margins, especially in Northern Europe, where the change in climate was probably far more profound for production of food than it was in the Central and especially Southern Europe. And so the second thing is, associated with this grand swing in temperature was a swing in variability. And so with the onset of the Little Ice Age, it got not only colder, but fluctuations in temperature became larger. And so that imposed a penalty on society. If it's getting colder and you're in the beginning of this phase and you have 5 years of cold or even 10 years of cold, do you believe it's going to be permanent? And adjust accordingly by either moving out of there. If you're living in Greenland, and it turns out the Vikings who were there at the onset of the Little Ice Age didn't leave, and they didn't adapt. To adapt to live there, they would have had to taken on the lifestyle of Eskimos, wearing sealskins and hunting, as they did. But they didn't, and they perished. So you either move out or perish, or try to adapt by building warmer houses, acquiring food from other sources, and different clothing, different types of fuel, that kind of thing. You have to change your lifestyle. But that can be costly. And so it takes energy, it takes resources, and that impinges health. So we think that's the mechanism. If you knew the future, you could adapt, move quickly, make a good investment decision. But nobody knew the future. And so they suffered in the interim, until they adapted or until they moved. Then most people in history anyway, European history, are quite familiar with the rise of agricultural improvement and agricultural productivity in the 1700s and the 1800s. This is a time when it was getting warmer. It was a time when new crops were being brought into European agriculture, potatoes. There were new crop rotations, nitrogen restoring crops, things of that sort. So it's reflected in better health. Yes, there continued to be a penalty to living in the cities, but there must have been other advantages for these city dwellers. We think we can document this transformation in human health in much greater detail than has ever been done before.